Back on College Football 25 for episode 2 of our Wyoming State Bison Team Builder Dynasty, where we've started the season 2-0, but haven't looked particularly convincing doing so. We'd planned to run over the opposition in the Mountain West, but we find ourselves with a bottom 5 offense here early in the season. We do far and away have the best rushing offense in the conference though, but that does mean we've got the worst passing offense. Sophomore quarterback Quinton Hayes has just 184 yards and a single touchdown through 2 games. But star running back Cade Harris has a massive 382 yards on the ground. And even backup Aiden Calvert has 113 to his name. And the pair have also been responsible for 7 of our 8 touchdowns to start the season. We did have a pretty easy start to our schedule though. We blew out FCS East 41-0 in the season opener before we beat San Jose 28-6. But this week we'll be taking on not only the Baylor Bears, but also our main rivals, Wyoming. Before we get into those games, though, we are going to have 35 of our 400 recruiting points to reallocate because we are going to be taking Josh Swenson, the 4-star running back, off our board. There's just no way that we're going to be able to compete with the likes of UCLA or even Cal, let alone Oregon, who currently lead on the 4-star running back. And we're actually going to pivot to another 4-star in wide receiver Rafael Mateo. The other schools in the race are not pushing too hard for his recruitment at the moment, so I think we can definitely squeeze into his top 5 and then potentially get the recruitment over the line later in the season when we do have some points freed up to bring some guys in on visits. But for now, we do have our first away game of the season to get to, and we will be showcasing yet another set of uniforms. We'll go with the white away kits for this one. And we are out for the kick, as it will be Baylor to receive here in the first quarter. So these kinds of games are going to be won on the margins, and we do have the advantage in the very first margin. A narrow one it may be, but we will get the ball to receive in the second period rather than the first. We're going to be relying on the star defensive tackle Peyton Zadroyek once more to hopefully disrupt this Baylor offense as much as possible, but it's certainly not going to happen on the first play of the game, and nobody on our defense is going to have anywhere close to the speed necessary to catch the Baylor receiver, who does run it almost the length of the field for an opening drive, an opening play touchdown. So Quinton Hayes will lead the Bison out for the first drive of the game, and I think this is really where we're going to see the difference between the kind of opposition that we faced through the first 2 weeks of the season, the likes of the Astronauts and the Spartans, and actually truly not even elite teams like the Baylor Bears, but competent teams at the very least. We do get off to an ideal start though, running the ball for a first down immediately, and Cade Harris will try and get to the edge. Doesn't quite have the speed to do so and has to cut it back for just a modest 2-yard gain. We have seen the limitations of Quinton Hayes early in the season, so I don't want to test his arm too soon, so we will run the ball once more with Cade Harris, and it looked as though it might be a little more productive than we managed initially. It's going to bring up a 3rd and 4, and at some point we are going to have to put the ball in our sophomore quarterback's hands and ask him to make a play, and that play that he's chosen to make is to fumble the ball as Jackie Marshall gets in for a sack. So our offensive line certainly proving that they can run block early in the season, but pass blocking, it's an entirely different story, as Trey Williams goes down injured as the Bears pick up 9 yards on the first play of the drive. So it'll bring up a 2nd and 1, and what looked to be a completion underneath turns out to be a drop, and we will potentially be able to force Baylor off the field here. Coming out in pistol full house, so an interesting formation on 3rd and 1, and it will be play action, and it will be complete once more, and we do have the speed to catch up with the receiver on this occasion, but he does break the tackle. Does allow time for another defender to make it to the area. and bring the Baylor player down, though. But it is already 125 yards through the air. The vast majority of those, remember, coming on that quick screen to start the game. We are being absolutely lit up through the air here. Baylor will go 4 wide here from the 7-yard line. Just a yard to gain. And they will find a receiver out in the flat. There wasn't a lot of room to pick up the first down there, but there was just enough to do so. And I don't like going man coverage in the red zone, especially in the tight red zone. So we will run cover 4, and that's a big stop from, guess who, Peyton Zadroyek. Baylor by no means struggling to move the ball here, and I think we're just going to have to run commit in this heavy formation. And Zadroyek is going to be there once more to blow it up. It will, however, be 3rd and goal from the 5 for Baylor, who find a receiver towards the back of the end zone. Thankfully, the pass was an errant one. Hit the receiver in the knees rather than the hands. Couldn't make the adjustment to go down and make the grab, and we will hold Baylor to just 3 on the drive when it looked as though they might be putting up another 7. So I have to think that we consider that a win. So back out for our second drive of the game, and we will flow out to this left-hand side. And Fleischmann was just pretty much walking across the field, desperately searching for him on the play-action boot, which worked to perfection. There was an unblocked Baylor defender, but the boot action allowed Quentin Hayes to evade him and find space to make a throw outside the pocket on the left-hand side of the field. But the receiver's just so slow to try and get open, and then Quentin Hayes can't put it on the spot to try and find, I believe that was Cade Harris in the flat out of the empty formation to pick up the conversion on 3rd down. And Quentin Hayes continues to disappoint here in the early portion of the season. The Bears do not fail to disappoint their fans, though, and they will be running it in for another touchdown. Cannot stop a leak at this point. Our run defense, or our pass defense, to be fair, defense in general, just on the back foot in this game and absolutely outmatched by the Bears. So we are very much looking to build our offense behind a strong run game this season. But when you're 17-0 down before the end of the first quarter, it grows increasingly difficult to build through the run game. After yet another Quentin Hayes interception and a couple of punts, Baylor do have the ball once more here in the second quarter, and we have absolutely bitten on that play action. Couldn't have bit any harder if we tried. And we need Peyton Zadroyek to come alive as he did in the last episode. Grant Ewell too, unblocked on this occasion. We are going to trust our guys in man coverage on this occasion. Don't like to do it in the red zone, but on 3rd and 9 from the 30-ish, we can certainly afford to do so, and it does work to our advantage. Bringing up a 4th and 8. We'll allow Baylor to try another field goal, though. It's going to be a 48-yard attempt. Very makeable. And it's close, and it does just sneak inside the upright to extend Baylor's lead to 20-0 here in the second quarter. We shut out FCS East in week 1. I think the goal now is to avoid being shut out ourselves in week 3. 3rd and 7, though. You have to imagine it's going to be 3 points at the very least for Baylor, and it does look like we are going to be holding them to 3. It's ambitious, maybe somewhat naive, maybe somewhat over-optimistic, but we are going to take a timeout here. If we are going to at least put up points in this game, we're going to need time to do so. So we'll have about 1 minute and 40-something seconds to work with as we try and put together a 2-minute drive to prevent this game from becoming too embarrassing. But instead, Baylor put up another one-play touchdown to end the half, and it will be 30-0 here at halftime. And I'm not sure how much of the second period you're going to see because I'm already looking ahead to that rivalry match against Wyoming. And indeed, we won't be shut out here in week 3. But the game will be an embarrassing one. 51-7 in favor of the Baylor Bears. And it's actually John Busher during the blowout that sees the game out. We do put up a touchdown in the 4th quarter, but it's absolute demolition job by the Bears. And we could have done with a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence heading into our rivalry game in week 5 against Wyoming. Instead, we're going to have to try and use the bye week to completely cleanse our memory of this embarrassing performance. It was another pretty horrific game from Quentin Hayes. 12 of 20 for just 74 yards through an interception. John Busher did come in and move the ball slightly better, so potentially he will even be our starter against Wyoming. Cade Harris couldn't even get it going on the ground today. And if that's the case, we're going to have absolutely no shot at winning games. He was better in the receiving game, to be fair. 5 for 20. Thierry went 3 for 51. A couple of catches for Calvert out of the backfield as well. Defensively, there wasn't too much Peyton Zadroic could do, but he did get in for another TFL and a sack. We didn't have any picks, fumbles, touchdowns on the game. In terms of recruiting, putting 35 points on the 4-star receiver, Rafael Mateo, has made a big difference, and we have squeezed into his top 5. We're going to have to hope that we have the same effect heading into next week, though, because we are currently on the outside looking in terms of his top 3. We are being run close on Nick Angel. Currently in second on him. We have allocated a couple more points to him here in week 4, the bye week. And we do still have the lead on Wayne Villarreal, but the 3 teams below us have all invited him in for a visit, and he's actually going to be visiting Wyoming next week when we play them. And if we beat Wyoming, I would like to gain some influence in the recruitment of Wayne Villarreal. Obviously, when you invite teams to visit you, if you beat the team that you are playing when they are visiting, you get a boost in the influence in their recruitment. I think it should work the other way around as well. If Villarreal is visiting Wyoming, and we go to their place and beat them, we are also recruiting Villarreal, so surely we should get some kind of a boost from that too. But Dean McCleon, we do still have the lead on, as we do with George Pounds, with Trey Carney, with Rayshawn Cleveland. So actually in the running for a handful of 4-star prospects, which I didn't anticipate here in Season 1. We have switched to hard selling on these guys with the additional 10 points as well. And that strategy is working exactly as intended. We are very, very close to a commitment from Dean McCleon. And most importantly, we are this close to a commitment on Wayne Villarreal, who has locked out Wyoming ahead of his week 5 visit. So hopefully we can get these 2 recruitments over the line this week, potentially the following week. If not, we should have 100 hours freed up from that, and we should be able to get Mateo in on a visit to make sure we get into his top 3 and potentially get that recruitment over the line as well. But with that, we are ready for our shortest road trip of the season by far as we take on our in-state rivals, Wyoming. So head coach Big Mo Johnson had a big decision to make ahead of this one. And alongside Cade Harris in the backfield will be Quentin Hayes. He will get the start again here today against Wyoming. His opportunities are probably running low already. That's a great move by Cade Harris, and already one play into the game we are up. Not quite into Wyoming territory. The ball dead on the 50-yard line. But we are going to be into Wyoming territory momentarily, you would have to assume. And we're going to cut this run back the other way. The safety coming up on that left-hand side, showing a bit of pressure. But it will be Quinton Hayes with another opportunity today to prove himself and finally get his season up and running. And it will be a 3rd and 7. And already we're going to have to look to Cade Harris on one of these screen plays that he is so good at. But Quinton Hayes, first opportunity to find a receiver, and he fails to do so. Very, very worrying sign when your quarterback can't even complete a screen pass, but this looks to be an excellent punt, and it is out of the 3-yard line, and this will pin Wyoming right back. So trying to be aggressive here immediately, trying to force Wyoming at the very least into a punt. And we do hold them to what looked to be a minimal gain, but it does turn out to be 5 yards. Got a little more on that one than I would have liked. But 2 backs alongside the quarterback on this particular play. One of which does motion out into the flat. And it's a big tackle by number 11. But Wyoming do pick up the first down. We will switch to man coverage for this particular snap. And Palmer off the edge. One-on-one with the tight end. And again, the pressure cannot get home. And again, Wyoming move the ball. Said they shouldn't be as tough a test as Baylor. But it is proving to be pretty much the same story as the Baylor game, as the quarterback keeps on this occasion. There's a pancake blocker, not just the second level, but the 3rd level there. And already Wyoming down to the 32-yard line. Looking to be the first team to put points on the board in this game. They will run the ball on this occasion, and we will be able to get out there with the linebacker and force the running back down for a 1-yard loss. Definitely need to get to know the names of a few more players on our team. Just keep referring to them either by their numbers or by their position. It's right up the middle from the running back. A lot of motion on that particular play. It's going to bring up a 3rd and 5. And I think if we do manage to hold Wyoming to just a field goal here, I think we have to consider that a win. They will try and pick it up on 3rd down though. And they get the completion underneath in the flat, but it's going to be a 4th and 3. And we will hold Wyoming to a field goal attempt. Which is going to be a 42-yard attempt. Not a gimme by any means. And it does just sneak inside the upright. So Wyoming take the lead, but only 3 rather than 7. Wyoming DBs pressing our receivers at the line of scrimmage, but taking away the inside leverage. And we will just hit Engel underneath, and if he can get to the edge, that may have been a big gain and potentially even a touchdown. Doesn't have that kind of game-breaking speed though, Engel. Neither do any of the other receivers on our team, and we've run this play a handful of times, and we do get a receiver open, and he's been bumped. That has to be some kind of illegal contact. That has to be some kind of a penalty, because we have the tight end coming across the formation. He's more than 5 yards down the field, and I think that's the argument that Quinton Hayes is making, because he's just been absolutely leveled by a linebacker at the 2nd level, preventing him from getting to that open space that he was running into. And Isaac White, the safety, comes down and makes the interception. But how that isn't a penalty, I don't know. And Cade Harris, with a big punt return, has a man to beat. And again, Cade Harris, on one play, has taken us all the way up to the 50-yard line. It was a run play in the first quarter. This time it's a punt return. I don't ideally want Cade Harris on punt return duty, since he does play such a big role for us in the run game, and we don't want him to be getting too much work and having that wear and tear play an impact. And we hit Engel here. I mean, it's a decent ball, and Engel lays out. Can't bring it in. It was a good throw from Quinton Hayes, to be fair. Is going to bring up a 44-yard attempt to try and put our first points on the board. And it is pretty much straight ahead. If he has the leg, then it should be all tied up here, and indeed it is. So So Wyoming's offense back out on the field. And after a quarterback keeper, they will hand off to the running back who loses 2. But this is a decent drive at the moment. Down to the 33-yard line. I don't want to speak too soon. But we are starting to move the ball now as the clock ticks under 4 minutes. And we will just run to the weak side here. And somehow we managed to get 4 out of that. So now within the 2-minute warning, I like the look we are getting here. It is a long yard to gain. However, we are going to go quarterback sneak with Quentin Hayes, who does pick it up. So a bit of confusion at the line of scrimmage. And we do take a timeout with 32 seconds remaining. We are going to run the jet touch pass, though. Can Engel find the edge? Not quite. And I think we may have to take our second timeout here. Don't want to rush to the line of scrimmage. Instead, I'm going to try and make sure we've got a good play to call here on 2nd and goal. And I think we will try and hit one of these tight ends towards the back of the end zone. And we're just going to put it up towards the corner of the end zone for Fleischman. And again, the pass is just not quite accurate enough from Quentin Hayes. Fleischman had to lay out for it. And even then, he could only get a single hand on the ball. So on 3rd and goal, we are currently going to struggle to punch this in for a touchdown. 6 yards still to gain. Going to try and get those 6 yards with a quick screen pass to Cade Harris. And we do pick up the 6 points. Should be soon to be 7 after all. And we should go into the half with a 10-3 lead and control in this big rivalry game early in the season. A touchdown will show up on the box score for Quentin Hayes, but he should have had one the play before, hitting Fleischman in the back of the end zone. And it was all Cade Harris and the blocks on that particular play. So how much Quentin Hayes really deserves to have that touchdown under his name today, I'm not sure. So 13 seconds remain for Wyoming. And of course, we will sit out in cover 4 and simply commit to the pass. And the Wyoming, I think, running back is going to take it all the way for a touchdown regardless. Absolutely unreal play. 13 seconds left on the clock. It looked as though we were going to go into the halftime break with the lead, but just a single second remaining. And in one play, Wyoming take it almost the length of the field, 75 yards. Harrison Whaley on a simple run play, and 23 there has been juked out of his shoes. I think it's the safety. I want to say his name is Tuoti Mariner. He's been juked out of his shoes, and Goff, the safety, does not have the speed. We know he doesn't have the speed to catch the running back once he was gone. But Quentin Hayes will come back out onto the field alongside his offense to start the second half. I was tempted to bring Busher on to start the second half, as Harris again with the spin move. That's so dangerous. We will try and hit Breyer on the slot fade here, and we have him. Just throw an accurate ball, Quentin Hayes, and he does. And finally, I think we've thrown a genuine touchdown pass for the first time this season. We did, of course, throw a touchdown pass at the end of the first half in this game, but it was a quick screen out to Cade Harris. And the only other touchdown pass that Hayes has to his name was a very shallow crosser from like 2 yards out. But Cameron Breyer beats his man, makes the grab, and again, we will re-establish our 7-point lead. We know what Cade Harris can do on screens in these kind of situations. On this occasion, though, it's going to be Aiden Calvert who is asked to pick up the first down, and pick up the first down is exactly what he will do. And he will lower the shoulder to force his way through the Wyoming defensive back. And I like the look that we're getting. Wyoming lining up very narrow along that defensive line, but we're going to be running out towards the edge. But it is going to bring up a 4th and goal. And the CPU wants us to go for it. I'm just going to take our points here. And we're going to be looking to Peyton Zadroik to play a big role on this particular drive. Zdroik and Grant Yule, our best defensive linemen in the first episode, pretty much continued that way again here. And thankfully, the pass incomplete. And if we can force 3 and out here again, I think we have to like our chances of winning, particularly since we forced them all the way back to the 6-yard line before forcing the sack. And it's going to be a 4th and 21. And we have succeeded in doing one of those 2 goals that we set earlier in the quarter. We've managed to tick the clock down around 2 minutes. We haven't managed to put points on the board since then, though. We have managed to force 2 straight 3 and outs, but it's not going to be a 3 and out here. And in fact, it's going to be a 1-play touchdown, as the Wyoming tight end rides multiple tackles, bounces off them, makes the grab, and it's going to be, what, the 3rd 1-play touchdown of the game? But it can't be the 3rd because Wyoming are only on 17 points. It's the 2nd 1-play touchdown of the game. So it does look like we are probably going to overtime here. And we can't even get the ball away. Can't even get the pass off. It's going to be incomplete. 27 seconds remaining. 3rd and 10. Might be wise just to run the ball here. But I mean, Wyoming are obviously taking a timeout, so it's not even going to run a lot of time off the clock. I think we have to look. And instead, Quentin Hayes is going to fumble and Wyoming are going to win. I guess we should have run the ball. Quentin Hayes just cannot take care of the football. Whether it's putting it in harm's way in the air, whether it's failing to hold on to it. And it is going to be a loss after all. It's not as if we didn't have opportunities to win this game. Not just in this final quarter, but earlier in the game as well. We've had a chance to extend our lead and we've just failed. And the defense has done its job. It's forced multiple 3 and outs in the second half. And Quentin Hayes and the offense just have not been able to put points or even yards on the board. And with 16 seconds left, 0 timeouts, we are just going to have to chuck the ball up here. We have very few other options. So Jared Rosnos, Cameron Breyer, can one of them win off the edge? Obviously not. And Quentin Hayes is going to throw another interception. His release is so slow. His release is just so slow. We waited there. We had to wait for the routes to develop down the field. But it just takes an age for Quentin Hayes to release the ball. And John Busher is going to have to come in week 6. Because Quentin Hayes, he's not that guy. He's not that guy. It's a really disappointing defeat considering we only allowed 230 yards of total offense to Wyoming. Just 10 of 13 for 149 and a touchdown for Svoboda. Quentin Hayes did put up 193 yards, his highest total of the season so far, on 18 of 31 passing and 2 touchdowns through 3 interceptions though. It just cannot happen. 19 for 75 on the ground today for Cade Harris, who continues to have a good season. 9 for 39 is solid enough. Aiden Calvert, 4 for 23, 3 for 43 from Jared Rosnos, who had a decent enough game. And we saw Cameron Breyer make that big touchdown grab as well. Cade Harris, of course, with a touchdown grab out of the backfield too. Defensively, not too much going on. A couple of TFLs, which are massively overinflated on this game. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 TFLs. And then a sack for Swartz and for Curtis. But Peyton Zdroik, fairly uninfluential today. Again, no interceptions. Again, no fumbles forced. Thankfully, we do have some good news to end the episode, and that is that Wayne Villarreal becomes our first commit of the season. The 3-star left tackle that we stole away from our rivals, Wyoming. And that is going to allow us to free up enough points to invite Rafael Mateo on our first visit of the season too. He's going to be coming over in week 8. Dean McCleon is also this close to committing. We'll get a commit from him next week, I would imagine. George Pounds is fairly close to committing as well. Doesn't look like he's going to be visiting any other schools, so we may well see a commitment from him next week. So it will be Colorado State, the opponents, when Mateo comes to visit. But in episode 3, we'll be taking on New Mexico and Navy. So make sure you tune in for that episode so you can run with the herd. Take it easy.